What's up, Marvel Cinematic Universe fans? I am Leonard, and welcome to B.E.A.M discusses Marvel Studios' WandaVision. B.E.A.M being broadband examination of art and media. MCU ATL, we've been around since 2018, and we basically started out doing movie screenings, and we decided that we wanted to create experiences that elevate basically the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe experience for its fans. So we do a little bit more than just watch the movies. We actually, hang out, discuss, cosplay, all of that stuff. So yeah, it's been a good ride so far, with the exception of 2020, of course.
2020 has been wonderful, and not really, but we're still here, so we're gonna try to make the most of it. Really excited. WandaVision was released yesterday, and that's mainly why we're here. We gathered up a group of our close constituents in the Atlanta, area to come in and just chat it up. It'll be good to see them too. The people that you're going to see are people that come to our meetups and our movie premieres and trivia. Jason's in there. I think he's going to try to formally call out Kevin. Kevin wasn't able to make it today, but yeah, so just a good time. Want to just start engaging fans more and our friends. So let her rip.
Well, yeah, without further ado, we are going to introduce the group of individuals we have dubbed Unit 1218, dedicated MCU ATL volunteers. So here we go.
Hi, guys.
Hello, everyone.
What up?
All right. So here's the squad, and what we're going to do is just briefly, introduce ourselves. So we're going to go ahead and start with Kelly.
Hey, guys. So I'm Kelly. I am a Atlanta-based cosplayer. I am decked out in at least half of a Wanda outfit today in honor of WandaVision. I also am a podcaster. I'm a panelist on the Spider-Man Crawl Space, the longest running Spider-Man podcast and technically fan website. And also I have my own Spider-Girl podcast on the Spidey Dude Network called Make Mine Mayday, for my favorite Marvel character of all time, Mayday Parker.
All right. Appreciate that, Kelly. Next, we're going to go to Mo. Mo, you now have the floor.
Hey, y'all. It's Dominican Night cosplayer here out of Atlanta, Georgia. And MCU fan, and a Marvel fan, comic book fan, pop culture fan. It is a great time to be a comic book fan right now. Even with the trials and tribulations of 2020, so much good content is coming right now. A couple of things here and there. We're not going to talk about in this particular podcast, the competition, although there was a movie that came out that had some questionable decisions. But anyway, cosplayer, and I'm excited to talk about WandaVision.
All right. Next up, we have Darius.
Hello, how are you doing? My name is Darius Washington. I'm a film critic and movie critic, movie critic, and comic book writer for the Fandom Post. I'm also the anime industry coordinator for MomoCon, and I've been a long-time comic book and movie fan for God knows how long. I've sat through eras of really good Marvel films and eras of bad Marvel movies like Man-Thing and Sheena, in the Jungle. Oh dear God, yeah, Fantastic Four and stuff like that. So I'm happy to be alive to see stuff that's really good. And I've had my little buddy up here since I was 8 years old, and so I had him join me with us here. So, let's go.
All right. Next we have Jason.
What's up, MCU ATL, Facebook Live, everybody else who's watching. My name is Jason. My handle is somewhere over there, I believe. Follow me on Instagram. I'm inspiring actor introducing my my own show that I look to pitch to a network so you can check out my work. I'm a huge Marvel fan. Growing up, I was a super nerd, so the only friend I had was comic books, and it was the X-Men, it was Spider-Man. That's all I really had. So seeing these movies come to life was a really big deal for me. My favorite MCU character is Cap. You know what I mean? I'm glad that he's coming back to some extent. I don't care if it's cameo. I don't care if it's a whole movie. I just want to see him again on the screen. I'm really excited to talk about WandaVision. This is the first MCU thing we've gotten in over a year, and I didn't care what it was. I'm ready for it.
All right. Excellent. All right. So next we have Bleeku.
Hey guys, I'm Liku. I am a cosplayer, a gamer, an actor, a podcaster, do a lot of things. Podcast is called The Geek's Advocate. We talk about just geek culture, nerdy things, games, comics, movies. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Marvel Universe. Love Captain America, Black Widow are my two faves in the MCU. And I'm looking forward to talking about WandaVision. That's
All
it.
right. Well, it's a good thing you're looking forward to it because that is what we're going to do now. All right. So, so WandaVision dropped last night. Some of us actually stayed up to catch it at 3:00 a.m. Yeah, this guy here. So, it was a long day. And, a few of us actually managed to see it more than once, maybe 2, 3, 4 times.
You need it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack, even in the 30-minute episodes, and we're gonna just begin by just going around and giving our first impressions of the show, and maybe if we could sum it up with one word as well to describe our impression of it. So let's go with let's start with Kelly.
My one word is wow. Because
All
there's
right.
so many layers, so many different things that they do. It's from top to bottom, costumes, props, animation in the intros. Everything has an Easter egg and everything has something that's hinting at what's coming next.
All right, Mo.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to cheat. I'm gonna say 2 words: slow burn. I think actually there were a couple of really interesting little nuggets there. I think Disney Plus made the right choice to release 2 episodes versus 1 on the jump, because actually I think that if had they only done 1 episode 1 week, it may have been a little bit challenging for people coming in from the outside. Marvel fans, we were going to be in it. We were going to be there because we know the peripheral of it. But if you're talking about somebody who's being introduced, who just for whatever reason wanted to stumble on the show and was just like, let me try it out, it would have taken them aback. There wasn't enough, at least in the first episode, to really sort of tether you in and say, you know what, this is actually something to hook you right here, except for those last couple of seconds. And we could talk about that, obviously, because I'm assuming, we're this is a spoiler discussion.
Right.
So just heads up to everybody watching. If you haven't seen it, there's going to be some spoilers involved.
All right, I'm going to help you out on your cheating. Just add a hyphen. There you go. One word.
There you go. There you go.
There you go.
Dash.
All right. All right. We'll go to Darius next.
Deep, very deep show. Yes, I'm kind of one of the older members here, I believe, and I grew up watching a lot of '60s sitcoms when I was growing up, and I could recognize the pattern that they were going to go for. And knowing that also this was the MCU people, I knew that they were going to go into Marvel lore, but not exactly how much. And just the first 2 episodes being a combination of those things, and especially the opener to episode 2, of which we'll probably get to. I was completely hooked. I'm wanting to know more piece by piece by piece. And the trailers have alluded to more stuff that I used to read as a kid. Those stories being part of the influence of what we're about to see here. So yeah, I was very happy with what we've got so far, and I'm looking forward to discussing more about it with everybody.
All right, let's kick it over to Jason next.
Yeah, like you said, Leonard, some of us watched it multiple times. So the first time I watched it, I was definitely underwhelmed. But when I watched it again the second time, that's where we're going to spoilers here for people who haven't seen it. When at the dinner table with the Harts, and Mrs. Hart says, "It's their story, let them tell it." I was like, all right, no, I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna watch it the second time and let everything hit me and hit me and hit me. And pay attention to the little details, little lines that are being said that at first make glance could have been throwaway lines, but when you really pay attention to it, you're like, oh, okay, that's what they mean. So I'm definitely intrigued. Like Mo said, it's a good thing to drop both episodes back to back, because if they just dropped one, they would have lost a gang of people who didn't care about coming back next week. So it's a good thing they dropped them both as one episode technically, because I'm definitely intrigued. I'm definitely ready to see what happens next.
Right. All right. We're gonna kick it over to Liku.
Okay, so describing this episode in one word, I don't have a word. I just have a look, because when I finish, I was like this. So that's my one word. I didn't really know what I was watching. Because to be honest, like, I really haven't followed their storylines outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it was really weird. It looked like a really bad Bewitched knockoff from the first episode. And I'm right there with you, Mo. If I would have watched that one episode and not had the second one to at least show you that something else is going on beneath the surface, I would have tapped out right then. Like, it's a no for me, dog. I wouldn't even try. But, I mean, I feel like I'm misinformed because I don't know a lot of the stuff that other people picked up on. And that probably has a lot to do with it. And I only watched it once. So, yeah, now I'm like, maybe I need to watch it again. Maybe I missed some things, you know?
Well, I want to say you're not misinformed. You're just not a fan of their comics yet. And I think that
Right.
that's the key here. You're never, in Marvel, you're never misinformed or wrong, especially because there's a multiverse. So you can just create your own
Right.
universe, and that's what it is. But you just don't know the story yet, and that's the whole point. I think they're really, really good about mixing and blending the different fans, whether you have been like a super Wanda fan and have read every single issue she's ever appeared in, versus you only know these characters from the movies.
Right.
I think that's why it's like, too, there could be an entire misdirection going on, and for the super fans, and that could be on purpose to keep them entertained while also intriguing you to watch the next episode.
Right.
So they're really brilliant about how they blend those together.
Right.
Yeah. And try not to judge it too early because of that. And I know that they tend to reveal things as the story goes along, but I can't lie. I'm probably like the least popular or unpopular opinion on that, or as far as how I felt about it initially.
I don't think,
I've seen-
and I'll be honest with someone who's uninitiated, like you said, that's where you have to make sure that when you're writing a show, that if you are someone who does not know the background of the characters and have read every story, there should be enough in that where it can stand on its own merits. Again,
Right.
Marvel fans and MCU fans are going to watch this show. It doesn't matter, because we know so much of the lore that's in there that we're going to pick apart, and we're going to watch the show 3 or 4 times just to pick it apart. But I think that the execution from Marvel Studios' perspective was that they probably should have done. I feel like they should have done a little bit more to really pull you in to want to stay in. It's like the
Right.
best I could equate it is to Lost, for example. Lost, you watch the first two, 3 episodes, you're automatically. And again, I didn't watch that show. I didn't, but I can tell you that actually. But those first couple of episodes really are like, they give you enough where you're just like, wait a second, I need to find out what's going on here. What am I seeing? And that's why I think that it was a good decision to put 2 episodes back to back. One actually,
Right.
and I will say, I don't know if you guys noticed or didn't notice in this, and again, spoilers, the first episode was about 30 minutes, the second episode is about 37 minutes.
Yes.
And I will say actually that decade-wise, there is a difference in every episode where they are marking into starting from the golden age of television. So you have the first episode, which really is more Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yes. Mhm.
Second episode is more Bewitched. So you're going from 50s to 60s. More than likely, actually, next week it's going to be 70s. And so within those decade changes, it also will probably inform a little bit for the comic book fans what was going on with these characters when they existed in these time periods.
Exactly.
But again, that's the Marvel fan in us that is just like,
Get
Yeah.
get your notepad, get your notepad ready.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, I sat there and I watched it with other major comic book fans, and we were sitting there like in Discord together, picking every scene apart, going, "Did you see that? Did you see this?" And what I love too about it is, after leaving my little bubble and looking online and seeing how other groups reacted, they were finding different things, or they took those same things but thought of another storyline or another this. And so, like, at the end of the day, even though I have my theories and I'm excited from what I've seen, from what I know, I could be completely off. And that's kind of the beauty. It's like we're all on the same page. It's just I think we're all figuring things out a little bit differently from what we know. And I think that that's what's making this so much fun, because it's become the water cooler topic.
Agreed.
And that's that's the beauty of it. And there's too many layers to the show and how they're handling everything. It's insane.
Yeah, I'm gonna weigh in, and actually, I if I were to mention the word that I would sum it up with, I was entertained. Growing up, I was definitely a TV kid. Not quite Mike TV level from Willy Wonka, but I definitely watched a lot of television, and the sitcom is a staple for American television, and Bewitched, I absolutely was spellbound by, and yeah. So the reason why I say that is because as a little kid, I didn't understand a lot of the social aspects of the show, but I did like to see the magic. And whenever Samantha did that little nose wiggle and something happened, it was great. So I frequently watched that show for that. But also the humor. I get it. It's not for everyone, and there may be a sort of a generational thing going on there. I think some viewers would look at it and be like, "What is this? This is corny." But I found myself laughing way more than I probably should have at the show. And it added to it. Now, another thing I will say is, Kelly, you mentioned layers. That's a very key word to me as far as the show is concerned, because we have to realize or recognize that it's not just them copying directly this genre of television. It's actually a very powerful individual simulating that. So it's not going to come across 100% as if they were actually doing one of those shows. And so it's great seeing them actually pull that off. And so yeah, entertain is the word, going back to that, because of all of those layers for sure.
Well, so the Dick Van Dyke episode was actually filmed in front of a studio audience, and it was done like a one shot, just like those old shows. And so that's the thing, is they took every minute detail from trying to replicate these shows. And I think it's done in a way to honor too, because there's a reason WandaVision is the first MCU show coming out. This is a way to kind of honor that TV history, I think, in a way, but while also honoring the different comic book eras, while also honoring the story that they want to tell in MCU in general, in a way to keep us intrigued. It was going to be a very weird start, which is why, like you guys said, why we all agreed that the first two episodes coming out together was the best choice, because otherwise that one episode that's just a Dick Van Dyke homage, it would have been a very hard sell to get you to watch the Bewitched episode later.
Right.
I'm just looking at the chat here for, people on Facebook, and
Mhm.
Anna was saying that she got I Love Lucy vibes from that first episode.
Yeah.
And I could see that a lot more, I think, than Dick Van Dyke, because Wanda is the center. Like, she's the center focus more so than Vision. I know it's WandaVision, but
Yeah.
whereas I Love Lucy was about Lucy mostly,
Well, they did play off Dick Van Dyke. They asked Dick Van Dyke, they asked the producers that are still around for that show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
And
Okay.
two, there's the obvious nod to where in the Dick Van Dyke intro, Dick Van Dyke trips over his ottoman and Vision just changes through it, and that's I think
Right.
but yes, it was very I think Elizabeth Olsen definitely played very much to Lucille Ball,
right,
more than Mary Tyler Moore in that.
So maybe it was like a mashup of the two.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's interesting, and I want to piggyback a little bit off of what Leonard said, that it is very much a digested version of what maybe perhaps, and this is leading into some of the theories, is what it would somebody's interpretation that is not in our sort of like day-to-day lives. What's their interpretation of what a sitcom is, and what do they see, and what's the digested version of that? How do you interpret it? So there were in that first episode seeing actually that that someone's actually watching it, and they do, again, they close out the episode with a graphic and everything. Closing out the episode tells you that they put framing to it. It's not for us, the audience. It is to some extent for us, the audience, but it also is part of the story actually that's being told, is that they're framing devices for the intro with the animation in the second episode, and then the, hey, we're closing in the shot and we're going ahead and doing the little thing on the exterior. Those are elements of what would you, if you watch the show, what do you remember? What are elements that you remember about watching The Honeymooners? What are the elements that you remember about watching, I Love Lucy? There are all elements in those things that really are, again, they're a framing device for the stories, but then they're also, so it does work on multiple levels. So that's what I'm saying. I think that if you're going into it knowing about TV, or if you are a child of, you're a child of TV, if you grew up like a lot of us did, you at least have some working knowledge of what these shows were. You may not know them all. You may not know, that, in The Honeymooners, the guy was constantly telling his wife he was going to beat her up. But I mean, hey, that's, that's part of growing up with TV, that you don't actually, you see these things. And so it's a very interesting thing. So I'd actually love to hear some of the theories, like Jason and Darius. I'd love to hear actually what your theories are seeing the show, because that's what I want to get into.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Darius. Go ahead.
Yeah, Darius.
Judging from the trailers that they've been showing, like I remember, like they've shown stuff that's going to happen later on where you see their 80s outfits and everything. And I remember that particular time, that's when I first started really getting into learning about the Vision and Scarlet Witch. There was this one point where they got married, they left the Avengers and wound up on with the West Coast Avengers and had their own 12-issue miniseries leading up to that. Kelly, you had mentioned seeing. I'll let you talk much more about this thing about the beekeeper and everything. But there's a character that we got to see during that, and I think he will figure into this. But a lot of this, just judging from what we know about different parts of the comic lore, a lot of this will possibly end up either creating either a House of M type incident or Avengers Disassemble type incident, which are both heavily traumatic for Scarlet Witch.
Yes.
And the Avengers in general, but heavily traumatic. And they've already said that this show will not have an ending per se. It will
Mhm.
lead directly to the next Doctor Strange film, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to see it so
That's
badly.
Yeah.
But as far as to exactly, like you keep hearing during the episode, who's doing this to you, Wanda? Who's doing this to you, Wanda? And I was like, I had one theory about who that was, and then I actually ran across a website that said who exactly was saying that to her, and I'm like, oh damn.
Well, who are they saying is saying it? Because I couldn't
Well,
figure it out.
It's Agent Wu.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
oh, from that's right.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
did
yeah.
the show.
If you don't
Ant-Man
watch
and the Wasp.
spoilers, go away.
Guys,
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, Agent Wu from Ant-Man and
Ant-Man
Wasp.
From Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's right, because he's one of the cast members. That's right.
Yeah, apparently that's his voice that's
Mhm.
saying these
Okay.
things to you.
Definitely
So
his voice.
either Wanda has been captured somehow and people are messing with her, or she really is just fractured and can't handle Vision's death at the end of Endgame and
Mhm.
just splintering. There are a couple. I mean, there are different directions that they can go with this, and like I said, I mean that's part of the fun. Like where are we going? Like they've played the entire Marvel universe that way with so much of the lore that's come before now. So that's like I said. There's either she's been captured or she just broke on her own, and I want to give other people a chance to post their theories and everything. But there's other characters I really want to get into a little bit. But I want you guys weigh in and everything with your thoughts.
Okay. Well, I know since you mentioned the beekeeper, obviously, spoiler alert, in the Visions miniseries, which, that is after Wanda's break, and I want to say it is after House of M, the Grim Reaper shows up as a beekeeper. And in that comic lore, like, wish I had some like glasses put on and, be super nerd on it. The Grim Reaper is the brother of Wonder Man, and in one of the WandaVision storylines, Wanda used the body of of Wonder Man to make Vision, essentially. So that's kind of where I think that's coming in. Obviously, the Grim Reaper is going to play a part. There's a Blink if you miss it cartoon of his helmet in the WandaVision attic in the Bewitched episode. But also, which I think we all thought too, where does Mephisto play into this? Because, he's the reason why Tommy and Billy, the twins in the comics, exist, and he would be the most logical villain since he deals with Doctor Strange, he deals with Wanda a lot, and also he has a particular history with Spider-Man, where Doctor Strange will be coming after his movie into Spider-Man 3. And I feel like there's definitely something there, but I don't know where just yet. But that's kind of like I'm like at the edge of my seat as a comic book fan, because things are definitely in play right now, and you can see them if you're, looking for them. I'll put it that way.
Right. Speaking of that, and I'm trying to keep up with the comments on Facebook. So we're going to talk about a couple of the strange / sinister, aspects of it. And Anna pointed out here. Let's see here. So she has a few comments related to this. Especially when we talk about the commercials.
The commercials,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the commercials and how they tie into Wanda's psyche and what she's been going through. So let's go ahead and expound on that a little bit. Who wants the floor on this real quick?
I don't mind.
All right, Jason.
So I firmly believe there are 9 episodes. I think Paul Bettany actually did an interview saying there were 9 episodes. And
it's 9 hours.
So 7, 8, and 9 were going to be like he said, an Avengers style finale, so to speak. I believe that every episode is a time period, 60s, 70s, 80s. So by the time that we get to these finales will be in the current MCU timeline, which is 2023, I believe. At first, when I watched the trailers, I thought that Wanda just could not get over the death of Vision. The fact that everyone was back except for him, and her mind was just going crazy on a la House of M. That's what I thought. And then I'm watching the show, and I see, at the end, you see Sword there, at the guy with the little notebook, or the girl with the notebook at the end, watching Wanda's show, so to speak. And then at the also the Beekeeper as well, I thought to myself, well, Sword is an offshoot of Shield. Sword is their whole space organization, X, Y, and Z. So why would Sword be monitoring Wanda? Why would they be harassing or bothering Wanda? But then, as per the MCU, Hydra has infiltrated Shield, and I'd be stupid to believe that they got all the bad guys out. Possibly some Hydra elements could be in Sword, and they want to get back to Wanda because now there are no more Infinity Stones. She is the only on Earth remnant of an Infinity Stone because Captain Marvel is wherever she is, and they want to use her thoughts, her mind to somehow recreate that power. Some way, shape, or form. That's my thought process. That's my theory of what's going on with her. But those commercials, I think Anna really hit it in the comments. The toaster commercial. I didn't watch it. I had to rewind and watch it a couple times. The toaster just kept beeping and beeping and beeping, and then they got to the lady and they cut back to the toaster. And it just reminded me when Wanda and Pietro were talking to Ultron, saying how they waited for days for this missile to go off to kill them, and it was a Stark missile. That took me there immediately. And then the Strucker watch with the little Hydra symbol on it. I think the motto from that commercial was, "A man needs his woman and his watch," something along those lines. I can't remember specifically with it. But yes, that was her time with Strucker and her time with Pietro. What kind of robbed her of whatever innocence that she did have at that moment. So I think Wanda is recreating. I think she's somewhat in control of this reality. And to some extent, people are also messing with her head. Maybe like when the Skrulls had Captain Marvel, their little memory machine, and they were going through her memories, trying to get stuff back. At first, I thought that Sword was controlling her completely. But then when Wanda said no at the end of episode 2 and rewound everything back to when they were in the living room, that's when I was like, okay, maybe she has more control than the letting off. I still think I agree with Darius. I think she's kidnapped. I think someone has a hold of her. They're messing with her head. And she has some type of control, but she does not want to leave. I think the Beekeeper was someone and Agent Wu are trying to get through to Wanda to bring her out of this state that she's in. But she doesn't have to fight anymore. She's at home. She has Vision. She has family. I mean, Vision still has the Mind Stone in it. So she's still thinking about Vision from back in the day. And last point, and I'll move on, of why I think that she's really in control / someone is manipulating her. When Mr. Hart started choking on whatever he was choking on, Mrs. Hart kept looking at Wanda saying, "Stop it, stop it, stop it." She never once looked at Vision. She never once even got up to move herself. She just stared at Wanda the whole time. And Wanda looked at Vision, and she told him, "Help him." And then Vision did what he did. At any given moment, Wanda could have saved that guy herself. The Miss Hart could win over there, but it just feels like she's somewhat in control, but someone is also really messing with her and pulling the strings.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say that, piggybacking on that, and obviously there's a lot we have to learn about this series, but just thinking about, the beginning of Infinity War, where Wanda and Vision are having their moment and they get attacked. My mind keeps going back to how Wanda was able to manually start repairing Vision's fibers. And to me, I think that is something that we need to keep in mind. Vision is a very valuable and powerful piece of hardware. And if Sword is interested in protecting the Earth, and they would find some way to acquire Vision, I believe, and ideally, the person that's got the closest connection and of course the ability to help repair Vision would be Wanda. So I think that that's something that we have to keep in mind in looking at that she's probably manipulating or repairing his mind, or maybe has done so to a certain extent, because in these episodes, Vision is acting autonomously. It's not like they're always together. He's going off and doing his thing, and she's doing her thing. So there may be something to that. Now, as far as who exactly is manipulating and what the circumstances and their location, we're gonna have to stay tuned to find that, as they say, in each episode. So,
all right. So
I'm
I have
sure,
actually.
I'm sure
So I
we'll
was.
find out. Oh, go ahead, Mo, go ahead.
No, I was going to say so this is the theory I have actually with a couple of elements. It's a little bit different than Kelly's when it comes to the beekeeper. The beekeeper actually,
Okay.
the first thing I thought when I thought beekeeper was, in the Marvel universe, there is a group of people who wear beekeeper type outfits.
Yeah.
And not only actually beekeeper type outfits, but if you look at he's coming out of the sewer and all these bees are actually coming up as well. And he's wearing this beekeeper outfit. You can't see his face, and never in the comic books do you ever see these people's face. You have AIM. Now, AIM, if you took the story from the perspective of, and this is piggybacking a little bit off of also what what Leonard was saying. So you have Vision, who after Infinity War is been quote unquote dismantled. It's a sophisticated piece of equipment. Somebody's got their hands on it, whether it's shield, sword, or aim, or aim within sword. You can actually take somebody and they could say, okay, we're going to go ahead and take this particular piece of equipment. We're going to go ahead and try to see if we can repair it and get it going. So Wanda then comes in or is bought in to basically try to help repair him. If she's bought in, and AIM, being the entity that it is basically trying to influence her, or maybe actually, maybe perhaps even actually, use her to their own sort of machinations, then what you're left with is Wanda is creating these illusions. She's creating this perhaps actually in a way to repair, actually in the process of repairing Vision, in the process of being able to go ahead and actually try to bring him back to life. Because in Infinity War, they did establish that even though the Mind Stone was actually a component of Vision, Shuri was working on taking this Mind Stone out and keeping Vision intact, keeping a good percentage of him. So there's a good percentage of Vision in that piece of equipment. So if she's there to help repair him and has to have a deep dive into his mind, again, this goes into, hey, I only feel you. Every time she uses her powers to actually go ahead and actually go into Vision's mind, she's one of the only people who can do that, who could actually go into his mind and see what's going on. Even going back to Age of Ultron, she was able to read him when he was still being built. So she's the only person who could actually go into his mind, into his essence. And this is maybe where this is playing out. This is actually perhaps playing out in his mind space to get him actually to repair him, to get him actually to where he is. AIM is getting involved, and they're trying to break through. And again, manholes and stuff like that. You may have also, Sword also saying, "Hey, well, who's doing this to you? What's going on there?" Because maybe she's actually infiltrated AIM to try to get to Vision. So that's the things that I picked up on when I actually watched the episodes. I was looking for little cues here and there. I didn't actually, I didn't read that run of Visions, and so that's actually another interesting piece of it, because especially with the Wonder Man aspect of it, that Ultron created Vision from, they took his brain patterns or something.
Yes,
to that
effect.
Yeah,
and I was also, so to play on Leonard and Mo's theory too, thinking back on it and the fact that Vision is kind of acting autonomously. What if this is maybe AIM, if it's AIM instead of Grim Reaper, or it could just be the character that is the Grim Reaper, and he could be just an agent of AIM, Like it could be wind up like Simon and I cannot remember the Grim Reaper's name, but Simon from Wonder Man. Yeah, I think like they could be brothers that are working in AIM too, and that could just be how they're introduced into the MCU. But what if they like Simon agreed to take to help take his brain waves and brain patterns into this new Vision? Wanda's figured it out, or they were trying to get Wanda's assistance, and she's trying to make him be Vision and be her Vision and the person she loves. But at the end of this, it's still not going to be Vision, because if you remember, his mind gets wiped at least twice in the Avengers comics throughout the time, especially after the Wonder Man situation, and it never could work out. They always wind up apart at the end of the day, which is, it's still going to be really tragic and horrific, and none of us want to see it. But I think that this could just be her trying to convince this new Vision that they're meant to be together, and eventually this is how we're going to see her mind break. Because something on Anna's points, I was calling them commercial breaks, like a mental break, because they're all a part of Wanda's past so far, which also plays into when we see Tommy and Billy. Where's Pietro's, like, where are her memories of Pietro gonna?
I'm guessing that's the next episode. I'm guessing the next ad is going to involve Ultron, especially if it's in the 70s. It's going to be an Ultron. But actually, I just had a thought, and I'll go ahead and actually, because this is going to tie into, and this is a far go with me on this. If this show is tying directly into Doctor Strange, and there's been a long rumor as to who the antagonist of the Doctor Strange movie is going to be, if these are dreams and these are taking place in the realm of dreams, there is an antagonist. There's a Doctor Strange antagonist, not only Mephisto, but also another Doctor Strange antagonist. This is their realm.
You're welcome to speak the names, by the way. Spoilers are completely
spoilers.
allowed.
So Nightmare is a Doctor Strange antagonist that actually has been rumored for quite some time to be perhaps the antagonist. Now, granted, how does that play into a multiverse situation? I don't know. But I find it intriguing that this is, like I said, it's being played out in a, where it's being played out, obviously in a fictional sort of environment, that these could actually be dreams, and maybe actually that this is a manipulation on a bigger scale by them. But again, that's a far-fetched one. Another super, super, super far-fetched one. If you really want to go into like really, really crazy theories, Mojo World. That's it. I'm done. Mic drop.
But you know what? It's been discussed about Mojo, and that's still a possibility. The thing is, too, we have to realize Kevin Feige really, really likes his late 80s, 90s, and early 2000s storylines, and he likes blending them in together in this in the MCU world. So the sky is the limit on what can happen, because bringing it back to Spider-Girl, Hope Van Dyne is a antagonist and only exists in Spider-Girl's world, which came from the 90s and early 2000s. She's not from the 616, and yet here she is in MCU. So we don't even have to pull from the 616 universe on characters or ideas that might happen here, because whatever Feige sees, whatever the script writers see, whatever they want to do, they have a influx and a multiverse of ideas that they can pull from and create whatever they want to create.
Bleeku, are you excited now? Are you excited with all of this crazy?
Listen, I'm just taking it all in.
Because right now, if we move the camera to the wall,
I checked out a minute ago. Like, who is that? I've never heard of that person, and that's really bad considering like how much into Marvel I've been. But I guess that just shows how many different universes and all that there are, and realities. And I have my own theory, but it's kind of
What's your theory?
So nobody has touched on Hydra that much. Like, y'all brought it up, but we didn't really go into it. And I just feel like, do y'all remember Winter Soldier?
Yes.
and
Well,
how
Mhm.
like they you know what, first of all, you know what? I'm not bringing it up because it's Captain America, so don't try it. But they did basically brainwash Bucky, and were using like different what do you call them, like code words or whatever. Like they
Yeah.
had to go through the sequence,
Yeah, the
to
Russians,
unlock
the
that.
programming.
And I
Yeah.
right, and I just wonder if some of those images and stuff that we have seen is possibly maybe she's been caught by a Hydra agent, and they are trying to brainwash her, and meanwhile she's trying to break out of it. And I think that okay, so like another option is the fact that what was I going to say? Oh my gosh. Okay, so the other one is that I'm not going to say I think she's being tortured. You know, like, because we don't truly know what happened after the fact. We know that she was like severely in pain, and maybe she tried to bring back Vision. Like, there's so many different ways you can go with that. And I honestly don't know. Like, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that Doctor Strange is coming and the whole multiverse thing. And that would really be easy to tie into him because he has alternate timelines and realities. And there's no longer the Infinity Stone. So it's like, where do you go from there?
But
So,
but also you have a valid point. Like, I mean, Hydra was a large undercurrent through a lot of the Avenger films, and that's where you're coming from. And that's still a very valid point, and that could still be affecting AIM. It could be affecting SWORD, and it can have an important impact on this that we're not thinking about. And that's, so
yeah, because I mean, when you think about it, in all the films, they're like under the radar. They're not always, forthcoming with this is what we're doing. Even Cap went undercover, kind of, sort of, with his whole Hail Hydra moment, because they don't even know who their own agents are sometimes. Exactly. And so it's not entirely impossible for that to be an element of what's happening here, because I feel like anything they show us, there's a reason that they showed it to us. The Stark toaster, the Hydra thing, we start seeing just the color red. And then before that, everything is in color. Or I'm sorry, after that, everything is in color. And so everything means something. We just don't know what yet. And all you can really do is speculate.
Exactly.
I just want to throw, I'm sorry, Greg, real quick. I just want to throw this real quick. Oh, go ahead.
I'm trying to let everybody talk because
sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
If you know me, I could definitely talk all day. I feel like nobody's mentioning the fact that Kitty Foreman ran up in the episode. I'm like, you guys know that 70 show?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. One person failed me. Yeah, like Kitty was in it.
Sorry, bro.
Happy about that.
Kitty, yeah.
The helicopter thing, like, so to me, if you notice, they had the little sword logo on the helicopter. I don't feel like, what do you guys feel about that? I know
it was in Iron Man colors.
It was. That's what I noticed. It was very Iron Man colors.
Yeah, I got like a sense. You get a sense that people are trying to break, maybe from all sides. People are trying to break into her world. I think that's why you see those certain parts where there's hiccups. The choking scene, the radio scene when she's talking with Dottie, who I loved her because she's that jerk that existed in Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. There was always a jerk like that. So, like I think those scenes where there were like these hiccups and these breaks, it's like her world. I feel like the world that she's created is being broken down, and people are constantly trying to bombard from different ways. Like Leonard and I were talking earlier when she said no, when the beekeeper came up, and then she basically rewinded it.
It reminded me of the Matrix. That scene right there reminded me of basically
that let me know. I think Keith in the comments mentioned it. Shout out to Keith Cooper, Blurdish, but he mentioned that he feels like she is in control, and I get that sense. That part more so than anything, where she's like, nah, that's not what's happening in this world that I created. So she, went backwards. I want that toy helicopter too. Continue, guys.
I go back to Mo's.
Did you guys I'm sorry. Go ahead.
theory earlier. I'm cool for AIM because we clearly need some type of on the ground type enemy. It's just that I'm sure they'll answer this. Where did Vision's body go after Infinity War? I mean, it wasn't Wakanda. I highly doubt that they would give it to anybody else other than Stark. But the only people that could repair it would be the Wakandans because they have the vibranium. So no other company could repair Vision body technically because his body is made of vibranium other than Wakanda. So how could any other entity get a hold of Vision's body?
I can answer that with this. In the events of Infinity War, you had Wakanda dealing with the loss of their king. The last thing they care about is some junked up robot on the side.
Yeah.
Well,
That's the way
I would think that, at the
Yeah.
end of the movie, after the snap and everyone's whatever, unless Cap and them chose to leave the body there, I feel like Cap and them would take Vision back to Avengers compound.
Yeah.
Right. Why would they just leave that?
I don't think they would leave it there. And if they took it with them, you couldn't just walk up to Avengers compound. Black Widow basically lived there. So no one else could get control of the body unless this is taking place after Endgame, after Thanos came to destroy the Avengers compound. And some way, shape, or form, people are helping to rebuild Avengers compound, and someone finds Vision's body and takes it. I don't see how any other company could get it.
I don't see how they would just leave his body though. Like, he was the keeper of an Infinity Stone, so there's probably other things that could be done if whoever was to find that body, and just for the sake of safety, I would imagine they take it.
Yeah,
I mean, that was the entire story of Far From Home. So not Far From Home. Homecoming was actually what was all this technology that happens after these big events. What actually happens to it? So it's not It's not crazy to think that in a disheveled post-Infinity War world, prior to Endgame, that they shuffled this piece of equipment around and somebody was just like, put it in a warehouse over here. We got other stuff to deal with. Half the population is gone, and somebody gets their hand on it. And I think I wouldn't be surprised. And this leads more into some other series, which if they are doing this, I think is absolutely brilliant. It could lead into very easily into things like Ironheart and Armor Wars. Is this world where people were now everything's back to sorts, but in the interim, when you had all this technology that basically nobody was going to use, anybody could have gotten their hands in, because again, there were other priorities taking place. And so who's to say that in the period where Tony Stark actually did retire, maybe he did sort of collect all of his technology out there. Maybe he did, but then he passes away. Other people get their hands on it, which would then, springboard into Armor Wars, which is coming.
I will, lend some credence to that. The entity that you're referring to is Damage Control.
Yes.
That was a joint partnership between Tony Stark and the government. But guess what happened to the government after the snap? It was non-existent.
Yeah.
So there's definitely probably some issues with technology out there and security and who knows where that leads to and who took that over after everything came back to normal. There's another that's another loose thread there.
Well, there's also two. Sorry, Darius, go ahead.
There's something else that we haven't really talked about. There are two other major characters that are in this show that we know of, and we haven't really touched up on them yet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
One of them being, and I'm not sure how they're going to use her. Agatha Harkness is in this. And the thing is, in the comics, she at one point was Wanda's mentor and best friend, and teaching her how to use this magic. And I believe initially when they did the whole thing where Wanda got pregnant, I remember the story where this magic was channeling through her, and
it was Mephisto's magic.
It's like channel it, use it, and she wishes herself pregnant with Vision's child or children, and so basically she's going to show up, but apparently also Agatha kind of goes a little crazy herself in the comics, And the thing is, when Disassemble takes place,
Mhm.
it turned out Scarlet Witch was destroying everything in the Avengers Disassembled, and if I remember correctly, it turned out there was this form of magic that they said it was called chaos magic, and Doctor Strange was like, "There's no such thing as chaos magic. We have no idea what you're talking about." And it also turned out Agatha Harkness was dead.
Mhm.
And
But
such a
also,
creepy
also too, speaking of chaos magic, the symbol of chaos magic is actually in a belt buckle that Wanda is wearing in one of the scenes too, and which lends the credence for Agatha / Agnes. And there's also a thing that I was thinking of. Agatha originally didn't realize she was helping use Mephisto's magic, and that's why originally Tommy and Billy were taken away by Mephisto.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if she's going to wind up being like, basically, while we're thinking of all the other things going on, if there's also just not magical beings also trying to attack and do their own dirty work, and maybe the issue is that Wanda is caught in the middle of this corporate, this government espionage and otherworldly powers.
Yeah. A bad thought. Also, I had a train of thought, and I'm pretty sure it'll come back to me.
You were talking about another. You said there were
There's
two.
one other very important character
What are you
that
talking
a ton of people have been begging for. Monica Rambeau is in this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Except strangely, she's referred to as Geraldine.
Man, and why did they pick the most like?
Okay,
that name. You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
without actually saying that.
I understand. So there is a clip from one of the previews where it looks like it might be the next episode, because it looks very 70s, where she shows up at the door, and Wanda then can't remember her name, which she was as Geraldine, and then she goes, "I don't know.
Well, why am I here? Why I don't remember anything." Yeah,
she said that in the second. She said, "I don't have an idea. I don't know why I'm here."
Yeah,
Geraldine said that. So
yeah,
and that makes me think that somehow she's maybe they're trying to break in. Back to what I was saying. I'm going to shut up. Though. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, just saying that
misplaced. Like when she was at that the meeting with the women, and they were discussing how they were going to do the show, and it was odd to me, or at least it stood out, that both Wanda and Geraldine, they're on the same they're like kind of on the same accord. You know what I mean? And where they both feel out of place.
I think actually it's something to again, another little thread to pull on is
right.
So let's play out the scene. Let's play out the scene of the magic thing. So the last magic trick they're going to do is the magic box, which has actually an infinity stone on the front of it. If you notice, the mind stone is right on it. So Geraldine is actually not in the box. Scarlet Witch does magic. Geraldine's in the box. Geraldine looks at Scarlet Witch and says, it's so weird. I was over here and now I'm over here. Yeah. So has she been pulled into this? Has Monica been pulled into this? Maybe not necessarily because she wanted to, in helping Wanda. And this goes back to my theory of this is all taking place maybe actually in Vision's mind, not so much Wanda's mind. In Vision's mind, where Wanda's trying to repair, she inadvertently pulled Monica in as an agent of S.W.O.R.D. because it would make sense and tie into her character coming from Captain Marvel, her fascination maybe with space, her own experiences, and also having family in the military. It would make all the sense in the world for her to go ahead and actually go into a military type of job, and actually even. So I think she maybe gets pulled in, and that's the reason why she can't remember anything, because she's been pulled in, not of her own accord, not that she wanted to. She's just been pulled into it. Agnes, I think, is gonna be tricky. I want to say actually that I feel like Agnes maybe is more of a projection. She's always the one that's willing to help. So something tells me that she is more a projection of Wanda's psyche, sort of helping her out of helping her in situations, sometimes not actually to the best ability. So she helps her on the first episode with the dinner. She helps her actually in the next episode get into the pageant. So she enables helping her maybe, and in the comic book she was the babysitter for her kids. So she,
And
I feel like,
Franklin,
yeah. And so she, and exactly, and Ben Franklin, and not Ben Franklin, and yeah, yeah, you know what I
Franklin
mean.
Richards. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
Franklin Richards, yeah. And so I think that she is there maybe as a manifestation of her own mind, of Wanda's mind, to go ahead and actually help her through this. And maybe actually, again, based on the previews and the trailers, it sort of seems like she doesn't know that she's there, because again, there's a clip where Vision sees her in the car and snaps her out of something, and she's just like, "Am I dead?" Like, she could also be somebody that maybe has been pulled in and she doesn't know that she's been pulled in, or she could just be a manifestation, or she could just be faking it.
Well, too, in one of her last major appearances in the comics with Wanda and Vision, she was just a vision for Wanda, in her going through her past with Vision. So, which auditorially I know sounds crazy because English is crazy, but that's because the whole thing is she was already dead, and all she was basically like ghosts of the past helping her work through her issues.
That's how they found her and everything. You see her dead body just sitting there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to figure out how. See, like when y'all mentioned the idea of Wanda attempting to repair and bring back Vision, all I can think of right now is Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh god, no.
Like basically, that's what happens to the Elric brothers. They try to bring back their mother, and in the end, as a result, they're both horribly disfigured.
One loses their entire body.
The law of equal exchange, yo. That's the way it works.
Hey, I mean,
like there's nothing equivalent to a human soul. So if all of this is going crazy, I mean, I see that.
Yeah,
Full Metal Alchemist. I'm gonna start crying, man. Stop that.
Well, I know. I can make you cry in one word, Nina.
Nope. Oh.
No! Hey, too soon. It's always too soon. But
it is always too soon.
I actually the thing is that they don't have to always even pull from what we already know. Obviously they're going to, because there's Marvel. There's a ton of information to tap into. But who's to say that a scriptwriter doesn't wind up influenced by some anime or some other form of entertainment to help round this out and make it their own.
Right. I mean, I definitely feel like there are elements to this show that I cannot place the names, but I've seen it in other TV shows or movies where that was kind of similar to the premise, but it's hard to say for sure because we don't know a whole lot yet. We've only had 2 episodes.
It's derivative. I think actually I'm going to be the theory guy, and when it comes to this particular podcast, I'm just calling it right now. I think actually that Wanda met Maxwell Lord and she made a wish, and this was her wish. Just saying.
And then we learned Disney really bought DC Comics from Warner Brothers.
Man.
We're not going to talk about that.
Sorry.
I'm just
based in the Shazam universe.
I still haven't seen that movie. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. I'm not spoiling anything. Actually, that's not.
Don't worry about seeing it.
The next time, after everything, we blip back into the real world, and you're on a plane and it's free. It'll be very enjoyable as a free movie.
Especially if you sleep through most of it.
Oh wow! That's a conversation for another podcast in other universe.
Yeah.
That sounds like a story we need to hear.
Let's not sling mud at the distinguished competition, also called DC.
Well, damn, man. It's not that
before we get too sideways, I think we're ending at a good point. There's a lot that's going on clearly, and we could probably talk about this for a couple of hours. But I think as one of you guys mentioned that I think episode 3 is probably going to be very enlightening as far as the direction they're going with this.
Yes.
So with that being said, the plan is, we thank you guys for tuning in to
Thank you guys.
the very first broadcast of MCU ATL, and we enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
So we look forward to doing this again. And I think what we're gonna do is every 2 episodes, we'll come back and do this again and recap. So we'll probably touch base on what we've done in these or reviewed today in these first 2 episodes, and then just go on to the meat and potatoes of episodes 3 and 4. So thank you guys once again for tuning in, and stay tuned to the MCU ATL Facebook page, our Instagram at MCU ATL, as well as our YouTube channel. And please, if you haven't followed, follow all of us on Instagram and Facebook. Our handles are
Right.
yeah, right there. Yeah, there we go.
Find me on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah. So once again, thank you guys again for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
All right.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Are you
Bye,
closing that yet?
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
subscribe.
subscribe,
Like all the things. Yes, exactly.
All right.
Bye, guys.
See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
All right.